Welcome to Going Forward, where inspiring conversations with leaders and entrepreneurs shape tomorrow. Dive into the depths of their journeys, the hurdles they've overcome, and the insights they bring to the future. Let's get moving right here, right now on Going Forward.
Hey, Going Forward Nation, we got, you guys hear me say special guest a lot of times, but, I got someone on the line with us today that I hope you guys are going to get a lot of value from. Someone that I've read his book. I've seen him, at the NTL summits down in Miami. And man, I'm telling you, every time he speaks, when Mike speaks, you got to listen. I'm talking about Mr. Fireproof himself. Mr. Mike Morse is on the line with us today. Mike, man, I want to welcome you to the Going Forward podcast and also to Going Forward Nation, man. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Eric. Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Yeah, it's going to be more fun for me than it is for you, man. I remember the first time I saw you, I was in Miami. I had a speech that I had to give in another room, and I believe you and John were on. John Knockhazel, who you mentioned a lot inside your book, but you had all these figures like on the board. And I was saying to myself, is he insane for showing like all his numbers? But you were like so transparent with showing everything and kind of showing people like the how. And I heard about Fireproof before I actually got the book and started listening to it. And I was like, well, what is this guy's story? What is his deal? And I was like, okay, now I get it. Now I get why he calls it Fireproof, man. Ladies and gentlemen, I got Mr. Mike Morse on the line with us today. Mike, for those folks who don't know you and never heard of you, man, would you mind just telling us just a little bit about yourself, man?
Sure. Mike Morse, been a lawyer here in Detroit for 32 years. Went to the University of Arizona for undergrad, came back to Detroit for law school to practice law with my dad, who was a lawyer here for 20 plus years. And, love everything about Detroit. Went to law school. Sadly, my dad died while I was in law school. So that was kind of a fired oven of itself.
Yeah.
And that kind of put a damper in things, but I persevered and pushed on and finished law school, top of my class. Got my first job doing personal injury work.
Yeah.
Loved it. 3 years into that first job, they fired me. Another firing. And so I hung my own shingle in 1995 and has just as a solo.
Yeah.
And I was a solo for many, many years until I realized that I needed mentors. I needed a coach. And I learned that a law firm that I was running was really a business. And, I had never heard those terms before. The cliche, they don't teach you this in law school, was real. Yeah. We never talked about business in law school or how hard it was to run a business. My mentors would point that out. And then in 2007, I pulled the trigger on a business coach who had never worked with a law firm before, but I knew in my heart that I needed help. If I wanted to help more people in Detroit, if I wanted to grow the firm, be a way better boss than my previous bosses, if I wanted to treat people the right way, if I wanted to grow and pay right and handle everything right, I needed help.
Yeah.
So, I hired my first business coach, Gino Wickman, in 2007.
Yeah.
After being mentored by my father-in-law for many years, who sadly got brain cancer and wasn't able to fully mentor me anymore. So I needed help. And then once I hired him, I was off to the races. I went from, $10, $15 million a year in settlements to, I think we did 230 million last year. And we're going to do 260 million this year, 250-ish employees. And I would have never gotten here, without the help of people. So I have an immense sense of gratitude and for everyone in my life and just everything I have and the abundance that I have. And that's why John and I, about 5 years ago, wrote the book Fireproof. My dog walking by us in the picture. And that's one of the whys why we wrote the book, just out of gratitude for the people who've helped us, and we wanted to pay it forward because I know a lot of lawyers and law firms still struggle. And I think we opened up something new with the data that you were mentioning, Eric, the jumbotrons, we call them. We introduced that stuff about 5 years ago, and now it's kind of in vogue, and a lot of coaches and a lot of law firms and a lot of softwares have adopted kind of this data mentality, and it's really exciting to see all the improvement. I think law firms are doing better. I think lawyers are happier. I think there's the notion, as you know, I talk about in the book, Eric. I had no idea what my numbers were before.
Yeah,
John and my coach, and literally, could I hire somebody? Could I get a new copy machine? Could we move offices? Like, I'd say to my secretary, who was also my office manager, lawyer, I said, do we have enough in the bank account to do that? Like, that was as basic and primitive as I was. My jumbotron was a blank screen. I knew nothing. I was just flying in the dark. Where 99.9% of the lawyers were 5 years ago, I believe. And I think we're starting to come out of those dark ages, looking at our numbers, figuring it all out, making smarter decisions, which are making better law firms, better lawyers, happier lawyers. And it's kind of our payback to the legal community. And it feels really good.
Mike, you're very humble. And, a lot of folks who may not know you, you're one of the largest personal injury law firms in Michigan. And I definitely want to say this, though, talking back about how seeing those numbers on the jumbotron, you have this desire to help people. You seem like you have this desire to help people, even from some of the community things that I've seen, and talking about Fireproof. That's almost like your give back from my point of view, like your give back to the legal community. Now, I want to start back to, in reading the book and feeling like, I'm getting to know Mike Morse. Did the book version, did the audio versions, because I wanted to really hear, what you were saying. And as you were going through some of these things, you were talking about like how you just hung that shingle, you were just coming up, you were dependent on leads from someone else. You know what I mean? And coming up, I mean, what was that like? Because there's a lot of young lawyers who are looking up to you to say, I want to be there, but I'm starting here. What would you start telling those young lawyers who are dependent on other firms for cases and leads?
Yeah. Right. So for those of your listeners who don't know me, for the first 10, 12 years of my practice, after I got fired for that other law firm, I was getting 70% of my leads from the biggest TV advertiser in my market. Mm-hmm. And it was great. I mean, I was bringing in millions and millions and millions of dollars, and my advertising budget was zero. My advertising budget this year is $20 million. Mm-hmm. So it's better to have a zero. The problem with it is, if you're getting it from one source, that source can change their mind overnight, which is what happened to me. Another fire that happened to me was he pulled the rug out from under me and says, those 70% of the leads, the 30 employees you have, we're done without any notice. That's scary. And I've talked to a lot of people over the last 5 years since we wrote the book that this has happened to. Laws change. People change their mind. You get fired from a job, right? So the lesson, the message is to just be careful, right? It's hard. I can't say no. If somebody says, I'm going to send you thousands of leads a year, you can't say no to that, but you also have to build up your practice to insulate in case that goes away. So it's bringing awareness around that fact. There, try to get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 firms sending you cases, and be dependent on yourself as opposed to others. Yeah. If you're a referral lawyer and you're getting all those referrals, just make sure you diversify. You don't want all your eggs in one basket. So that's really the message in that.
Coming up too, because the mindset definitely changes when you are dependent and then you start, being your own guy. And you mentioned earlier, like you had some important people like your father-in-law, bless his name, that passed away. And also, your coach, Gino Wickman. At some point, when does a lawyer say, I need someone, I need a mentor? And what was that like for you?
Well, the mentor as early as you can. I mean, law school, right after law school, first job, seek out that mentor that you're all aligned with, who's generous with their time. I think in my heart and my knowledge, most lawyers are loving, giving people. And I don't know many lawyers that if you ask the question, will you help me? Can we meet for a half an hour? Can I buy you lunch? If they're going to say no. I've never said no to that. I get very few requests because people think that I'm so busy and whatever, and it's a mistake, and it's their mistake. And I've said that on stages, and I still don't get a lot of calls. I like meeting people. I like helping people. I've never said no to a situation like that. So find a mentor, someone way smarter than you, someone way more experienced than you, someone who is giving and generous, and find that mentor. And when you can afford it, hire that coach. I mean, there's lots of different types of coaches. There's personal coaches. There's business coaches. I've had a sleep coach. I have a workout coach. There's cooking coaches. There's lots of different types of coaches. Find one that you resonate with. Find one that maybe has done what you want to do. That's one reason why we started Fireproof Coaching, was because we've been there. So if a young personal injury lawyer who wants to grow to our heights can afford $5,000 a month, which is what we charge, flat rate, that's it, all in, with lots of live summits and Zoom calls and software and weekly meetings, etc., then do it. Yeah. We've done it. Now, if you're a divorce lawyer and you want to grow a divorce practice and you can find somebody who's done divorce and built a beautiful firm, I would hire that person. And, find somebody who's done it. Try to avoid the coaches who are just coaches and who haven't done it. If you can, but like we grew up through EOS with Gina Wickman, who's never done a law firm. So I know I'm saying two different things, but there was no coaches 20 years ago that had built a personal injury law firm to the heights I wanted to. So it took us a lot longer to do it. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to shorten that time for personal injury firms. We're also doing immigration firms and business firms, and we have a couple divorce firms. And because the truth is the framework works for all firms. Right. The difference, Eric, here's the key secret sauce. When you're in a meeting with one of my coaches who has worked at my firm, they know what a personal injury case is. They know what a dog bited case is. They know what a first party auto case is, a third party auto case, a premises liability case. Gino Wickman will admit to you, he doesn't know the difference between a dog bite case and an auto case. Mm-hmm. And so had he had a full knowledge 17, 18, 19 years ago when I hired him, yes, things would have moved faster, right? Of course they would have. Wow. But that was not my journey. And so my journey now is to help other law firms who want to get there quicker. Mm-hmm. It took me 15 years to perfect my Jumbotron. We are now creating Jumbotrons for law firms within 30 days. So you don't have to wait 15 years or 10 years or 5 years. And we can tell you exactly what metrics you should be tracking. It's impressive too, man. It's impressive. So for very small amounts of money, we can do that for you. And people are loving it. And it makes every decision more important. You get addicted to the data. I can't make decisions without data anymore. Somebody will say, hey, why don't we go into this market? Or why don't we go into this practice area? Or why don't we do this or that? I said, okay, well, what do the numbers show? Like, is it worth it? Like right. How many people are in that demographic? Or how many accidents are there in that demographic? Or what's our average fee in Social Security disability cases? Or how long does it take to go, this or that? Or how much money is it per day, time on desk? And we have so many different metrics that we talk about that we're able to make better decisions. And with the data and knowing what questions to ask and having the right numbers, you make better decisions. You're usually more accurate. Mm-hmm. You're not guessing so much, right? When I was coming up through the ranks, I was just guessing. Right. You're just making gut decisions at the time. Yeah. Luckily, I had a good gut, but it took me a lot of years. And so it's just been a game changer knowing my numbers, knowing the structure of a business, how to hire, fire properly, how to set up processes, how to really manage people, and all the things that we talk about in the Fireproof book and in the coaching. It's it's been wonderful to see the changes that we're able to make in law firms.
You know, I want to talk about that a little bit because you talked about, just find someone who's been through it and people that know it first party cases. In the last 5 to 10 years, Mike, we've seen law firm conferences just explode. We've seen, coaches and teachers come up, out of the woodwork, how, for those young lawyers, how would you advise them on choosing a good mentor and also choosing a good group like Fireproof to be part of that they can really learn from? Because a lot of folks now, they hang up their shingle and they're like, I want to go from 0 to 8 figures in a heartbeat. And it just doesn't work that way.
So there's a few questions there. They're all good. So don't let me forget some of them. When I was a young lawyer, I would go to the AAJ conferences. They were expensive, but $4.99 for 3-4 days of learning. And you go there and you take hundreds of pages of notes and you'd meet people and you'd network with people. And that was wonderful. Now I go to a lot of the NTL, National Trial Lawyers events. Fireproof is having their first conference this fall. I don't have the exact date on me, but you could follow me on social media at 855 Mike Wins on Facebook and Instagram, and follow me on LinkedIn at Mike Morse. And all those dates will be revealed soon. And it's just go to the events. They're not that expensive, right? I mean, they're not that expensive. I would look for a mentor there. I would make friends there. I always, I take my lawyers with me and I say, I don't want to see you lawyers talking to each other. I want to see you talking to other people at other firms and go talk to a speaker. And I don't want to see you all in the same meeting room. I want to see you all spread out. Wow. So there's strategies when you go to these conferences, and we teach those, and we talk to our young lawyers about those. But if I'm going to take somebody to a conference, get the most out of it. It's not just about the parties at night, which are fun, or the other extracurricular activities. It's like be butts in those seats. Meet people, sit next to somebody new at lunch. You have no idea who you're sitting next to. Somebody could help you. Somebody who could refer you cases. Somebody might be your new best friend. Who the heck knows? So conferences are super important. I read a lot. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I go to a lot of conferences, and I ask a lot of questions, and I like to be in rooms where I'm not the smartest person in the room.
Which is great advice.
It was always my mantra growing up. It's like be the dumbest in the room. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And if you don't understand something, and I love it when speakers say, "Does everybody understand what that means?" And I look around and I don't know it, and then nobody's raising their hand. I'm like, can you just and there's 6 other people in the room.
Right.
They did that, but their egos won't let them. Right. So my ego check. I'm pretty self-aware. Not embarrassed to say I don't understand something. So like if I was a young lawyer, do all those things, right? If a young lawyer emails me on LinkedIn, I immediately send them a free copy of my book. I, offer them advice. I have speeches that I've given, 10 things I wish I learned when I was in law school on Instagram and things, and I'll send them some videos. And that's how you just start gathering information and follow people that you resonate with. And I think it works out that way.
So, Mike, as far as Fireproof right now, what would you want it to be for law firms in the next 5 years? Some of these other lawyers, how would you want them to see Fireproof, what you guys are developing now?
Well, it's a resource for lawyers to get better.
Yep.
We priced it in such a way that it's affordable for almost everyone. We are instituting this Saturday. So this podcast probably won't even come out by this Saturday, but
we'll put some notes out for you.
End of January 2025, we are starting our mastermind groups. We're going to have those ongoing. If you're interested in mastermind groups, it's fireproofperformance.com. You could check it out, or again, email me or text me on LinkedIn. And it's getting law firms in rooms together that have similar income, similar practice areas. We have divorce and immigration and business and personal injury and criminal. And they get to sit in a room with lawyers from different cities, right? They're not competitors. They're going to share their numbers, What's your average fee for a drunk driving case? What's the average fee you make on a dog bite case? How much does it cost you to bring a case in the door? What's the percentage of income you are taking home based on the net gross fees that you bring into your firm?
Wow.
A lot of people are 10%. I'm at 40%. Hey, Mike, how do I get to 40% if I'm at 10 or 15 or 20%? Well, let me show you. Let me show you exactly how I do it. That's the beauty of masterminds. And you challenge each other and you question each other. So I love the Fireproof masterminds. I want to build the best mastermind program in the country, in the world. So I want to be known for Fireproof masterminds. I want to be known for Fireproof coaching, which delivers millions of dollars for $5,000 a month. And every one of my clients will tell you that. It's so fun to see their aha moments. It's so fun to have. Every time we do a seminar, I'm doing one this Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to sit down in a room with all the owners, all the visionaries, and me in a room. And just they can ask me anything they want based on my 32 years of growing a decent size firm and doing what I've done. And the conversations are vulnerable. They're intense. Sometimes there's tears. Sometimes it's just emotional. And it's like, people tell me that 1 hour is worth the whole year of pricing.
Wow.
Of what they take home and they learn. It's so gratifying, flattering. I love it. I love connecting with these lawyers because there's nothing off limits. You could ask me anything and I will tell you, because I'm an open book. Again, it's a gratitude thing for this beautiful industry that's brought me here. I couldn't have done it without others. I didn't make up any of this stuff. But I've gathered it. I've done it. I've had lots of failures, been fired lots of times. I've had my office building burned down. Excuse me. Jesse. Sorry.
Hey, Jesse just made it.
Jesse wants to add it. So anyway, it's our way, it's our way of giving back. But I want people to Fireproof is, it's a legacy play. I hope to be doing this for the rest of my career. I hope my kids, step in one day. And it feels like my deep purpose, other than running my law firm, which I'm still running on a day-to-day basis. I'm still running a firm with 250 employees and trying to get to 300 million in settlements in the next couple of years and still growing it, but it's running like a fine oiled machine. And I have time to do other things and give back, which lights me up, and make new friends and have some fun. That's why I'm doing it.
There's a lot to really unpack when you talk about Mike Morse and all that the firm's doing, but you just talked about giving back. So I'm going to switch gears. I'm going to come back for a little bit. I saw a video one time where you were giving out, you give out things annually for like back to school, and you were giving out these backpacks. And one thing that really stood about the whole video was you said, I'm not going to put my logo on them. You said, if I'm truly going to do this for the community, I'm going to do it for the community. Not in those exact words, but you didn't put your logo on it. But then I saw, like in our market, I saw like some law firms were putting out book bags and they put their logo all over it. And I was like, wow, what a differentiator. What gave you this heart for the community, Mike?
Well, what gave it to me, I was born in Detroit, in the city of Detroit, and I'm in one market. And I get thousands of calls a month for help. I love these people, and they apparently love me and my firm, and my mom's in my commercials, and they love my mom. So over 10 years ago, one of the schools called me and said, Mike, our kids can't afford backpacks.
Wow.
And I said, okay, how many kids? I don't remember. It was 300 or 400 kids. And I said, great, I'll bring them backpacks full of supplies. And it was incredible. Okay. So I met the teachers and the principal and the superintendent and a bunch of parents, and parents would come up to me with tears in their eyes and say, Michael, it was either going to be food, uniforms, or backpacks this year.
Wow.
And Eric, these backpacks are not that, they're $15, $20, right? It's not, my kids every year, whether they need one or not, get a backpack. And I'm like, why don't these kids who live 5 miles from me deserve the same exact thing?
Yeah.
And so the next year I said to my team, how many kids are there in that elementary school, or in every elementary school in Detroit? And the number was like 25,000. And I said, and one of my team members was like, well, we could just do kindergartners and first graders. And I said, and it will save a lot of money. And I said, well, what about the second, third, fourth, and fifth graders who see them getting backpacks? That doesn't seem fair.
Wow. Great point, man. Great point.
And so we did 25,000 backpacks that year. And we went from 300 to 25,000. And the response was overwhelming. We've done this now over 10 years. We've given away 330,000 backpacks. We've expanded it. We now give it to the kids, but we also have an event in my parking lot we call the Big Tent Backpack Event in August. Thousands of Metro Detroiters show up. So now it's not just Detroit, it's Metro Detroiters, because I get calls from other cities saying, what about us? And I'm like, there's millions of kids. So I say, okay, I'll have unlimited backpacks. All you got to do is show up in August to my parking lot and I'll give you one. No questions asked.
Yeah, I saw the video.
So I do that every year, and it's one of the best days of the year. And just giving back to the kids and the parents, and they all come out, and we have food, and we have dancers, and we have Detroit Youth Choir, who you may have heard of, who are amazing young singers, high schoolers who support us, and it's just a wonderful community event. And I love it, and I'm going to do that as long as I can.
Mike, when I've seen you do these giveaways, it's not just you, just your entire team. But everyone's giving away something, and everyone in the firm is smiling. So how do you make that? How do you get that culture to be contagious within a firm? Because so many people want to have a big firm, but they don't think about the heart of the firm, which is the people. How do you do that?
I hire amazing people, and I say, who wants to volunteer? Not mandatory. And I have 80 or 90 employees show up, and they tell me it's the best day, and they bring their spouses, and they bring their kids to volunteer. Wow. I don't have to twist their arms. It's not a hard thing. It's 2-3 hours of their Saturday, and they love giving back as well. I mean, I have a lot of people who just want to give their heart and give their everything. I mean, we do lots of other things that people don't see. We also do a lot of dog events, adoption events with Michigan Humane. I'm a big supporter of Michigan Humane, and we've adopted out 500, 600, 700 dogs. We pay for the adoption fees on a lot of them, and we gather up 25 different shelters in my parking lot twice a year, and we have a big, huge adoption events, which brings families together, and it's a wonderful thing. So there's lots of things that we do. All of these things we teach in our coaching program. So Eric, if you're a law firm owner in whatever city and you say, Michael, I'm not connecting with my community.
Right.
Well, we talk about it. And I give them a link how to buy the backpacks. I give them a playbook how to connect with the Humane Society. We talk about bike events and other types of events that they can get into. We send out gratitude books to our clients. I give them links to that kind of stuff. We do lots of fun things, connected things. And I think that's one reason we're fireproof in my community, right? Bringing it back to the fireproof. Lots of law firms from other states try to come into our state and other states around the country, right? They have no connection to your city, but they're coming in anyway. Wow. With a lot of advertising, and they're like, we're going to take over this city.
Seen it all before.
If you're fireproof, we believe you're also competitor proof. I'm not going to throw out any names of other law firms who may come into your market, but you all know who they are. They have no connection to your market. They are not, they're just, they're
looking to make withdrawals.
Comes to mind.
They don't want to make any community deposits. They just want withdrawals. That's it.
And it's sad. But if you're connected to your community, hopefully your community is still going to remember you and call you and not them. And if they don't, you either say, those aren't the clients you want to represent anyway, or you got to do a better job of reminding your community that you're there. You can't just do 100 backpacks with your logo and think that that's enough and walk away and think that the community owes you something. I think we're going on our 11th or 12th year this year of backpacks, right? If you walk around the city with me, people come up to me and thank me for what I do for the kids. It's taken 12 years, but they know that I care about their kids. They know that I want to give back. They know that I love this community, and it's not fake. I'm still here. I'm in the snow. I could be anywhere right now, but I'm here helping the people of Metro Detroit because I love what I do and I love my community. A lot of my competitors, a lot of these people from other town are in Florida, are vacationing, are not here helping people, are not still in their offices.
Right.
I'm not retired. I'm in my 50s. I'm doing this for another 30 years. And I think people know that. And that's why we're so darn busy. That's why we're still growing. And getting these messages across with the advertising and the marketing and the LinkedIn and the Instagram and the NIL deals that we're now doing to help student athletes. It's all a part of it. You got to do it all, but it's fun. Like, I don't look at it as a burden. Like I mentioned, my advertising budget, I love it. I wish I could afford to do more because I love getting out there in the community and making fun ads, making funny ads, helping student athletes, giving more to the dogs, giving more to the kids. I want to just keep doing that more and more and more. And that's a huge part of our marketing and advertising budget is giving back.
I love what you just said. We're going to take a quick break, and I want to come back on and talk about hiring because you made some really important hires that you mentioned, and that all helps you to become more fireproof. There was a line that you said, like at one point, John Knockhazel, who's your right-hand man, can actually almost predict the kind of revenue that you guys are going to do. I want to talk about that too as well. Okay, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Hold tight, listeners. We're taking a brief pause. Going forward, we'll be back shortly with more insightful conversations.
This episode of Going Forward is brought to you by Optmyzr, an award-winning PPC management tool used by advertisers worldwide. Save time and boost the performance of your PPC campaigns on Facebook, Amazon, and Google or Microsoft. Get a 14-day free trial at optmyzr.com/go/VIP.
Welcome back to Going Forward. We hope you're recharged because we've got an exciting second half waiting for you. Get ready to dive deeper and be inspired. Let's keep the momentum going.
All right, Going Forward Nation, I am with Mr. Mike Morse, 855 Mike Wins. Follow him on all socials, Instagram. He's super active and responsive on LinkedIn as well. Mike, I want to talk about something. We talked about community just a little bit, and I wanted to have, this kind of conversation. And if you listen to any of the old podcasts that we have, we don't always talk about, hey, where you are. We talk about how you got there, because sometimes that's just the most important part. Because people, if they just paid attention to the overall fireproof and not seeing like what all started the fire and what came from it, they wouldn't learn a whole lot. One of the things you talked about was hiring the right people and community. And an important hire that you made is John Knockhazel, one of the guys who worked for you. And I think when you were talking about the journey of trying to hire John Knockhazel, and now he's like your right-hand man with Fireproof, how important is that for any law firm owner, CEO, entrepreneur to make sure that they have the right people in the right seats, like Gino Wickman says?
I can't think of anything more important. Nothing. I can't think of anything more important. And I'm thinking, Eric, right now, and I can't think of anything more important than finding your right number two. John's my number two. I hired him as my number two. Mm-hmm. He's been with me since 2008, and I hired him as my number two. So every law firm owner, one of the biggest struggles is that lawyers try to do too much. I can't tell you the time. I get a lot of calls from visionaries, founders of law firms. They might have 3 lawyers, they might have 10 lawyers, 15 lawyers doing well, but they're running around like they're like a chicken with their head cut off. Now, that was me. I lived that life for 15 years. So I really get it. I get it in every cell of my being. So when a lawyer calls me and tells me they're doing everything, running the firm, hiring and firing, handling the depositions, the trials, and writing the checks and going to Costco and doing all the things to do what they got to do, I get it.
Yeah.
If they want to succeed, they need to hire a number two, because they have to delegate all of the stuff that they shouldn't be doing. And we have exercises about delegating. It's one of my superpowers. and I'm an expert at it. And I've basically long time ago delegated myself out of a job.
Wow.
And that's the goal. And that's why I'm able to give back to the legal community, give back to my community, connect, have those big relationships, still meet with important clients who need to meet with me, mentor my lawyers, do all the things that I need to do. If I was still running around handling cases on a day-to-day basis, I wouldn't be able to do any of those things. And I'd have a modest law firm. I wanted a law firm that can help everybody. I succeeded in that. And I want to teach others how to do that. And one of the things that you're asking about is hiring the right people. So you can delegate the things that you're not great at and you don't love to do. Okay. One of my mantras, Eric, is I live and work in a world where all I do every day are things that I love to do and things that I'm great at. If there's something on my calendar that I don't want to do, that I'm not loving, and that's not for me, I delegate that meeting. I delegate that whatever.
Right. And
that live, and I'm training other lawyers to get there. And it's hard work. They don't get it. And it doesn't mean forever. Quick story, Eric. I tried dozens and dozens of cases my first 15 years of practicing. And I was very good at it. I won a lot of them. I won well more than 80% of them. But if I wanted to grow, I couldn't be in trial 3, 4, 5 times a year and handle all the deps and do everything. So I brought in great litigators and great trial attorneys, people way better than me. Last August, 2024, the right case came across my desk, and I tried that case after many years off. And we received one of the largest verdicts in Michigan history, a $75 million wrongful death verdict that I'm very proud of. And it's a good lesson for me, and it's a good lesson for other Fireproof clients, because, we do these things, we talk about these things, but nothing's forever. Like, we can change. If you delegate away this and you want to dip your toe in it, you're the boss. You do whatever you want. So I dipped the toe in trying that case, and it was a great experience. And now I'm looking for my next case to try. We just settled a $37 million wrongful death trucking case in December, and I had my hands all over that. Normally that's something that I delegate, but it was such a big, important case that I got my hands into that one. And you're the boss. You're allowed to do that. So the goal is to delegate everything that you don't love to do and you're great at, and then you could dip your toe in things that you want to do. But when people start delegating away the things that they know they should delegate, think about it. They have time to do anything they want. Some people want to try more cases, delegate it away so they can try more cases. Some don't ever want to try another case. Some want to spend more time with their kids and their family. Some want to take up golf. Some want to, work 20 hours a week. Doesn't matter. What do you want to do? Focus on growing your firm. That's what I did. But I also was able to be home for my 3 daughters and drive carpools, make lunches, never miss a recital, never miss a soccer game or a field hockey game. So it gave me the freedom to do all those things. So I grew the largest firm in Michigan and one of the largest firms in the country by only working on the things that I love to do and I'm great at.
That's a great point, Mike. Because I was going to ask you, that's such a great point. I was going to ask you, I was like, okay, he's growing this firm. He's gone through all this stuff. He's got 3 daughters. He's there. He's always present. Like, how do you do it? And like you said, you had to hire the right people, delegate those things that you didn't want to do. Is that hard to know?
There's a famous list in a book called Rocket Fuel by Gino Wickman that talks about this dynamic between the visionary and the integrator, the CEO and the COO. It's a great book. You should read it, Eric, if you haven't, and everybody listening should read it. And John and I are mentioned in the book a few times, and there's a list of mine that the day John was hired, I gave him a list. It had, I think, 88 things on it. And I said, this is your first week's worth of work. Get this done. And I don't know if I said first week's, but this is your list right now. And I interviewed him about that list, and I showed him that list, and we talked about that list. He said, oh yeah, I can do all those things. Because that was his skill set. Those were all things I didn't want to do, didn't love to do, weren't great at. all the things that visionaries aren't great at, right? Visionaries, you got to know what a visionary is. You got to know what an integrator is, but doing those things are painful. Still to this day, I can't read a long email. Don't text me something this long. Don't try to get me on the phone for 2-hour conversations. Don't get me to read long contracts, long, boring meetings. Don't try to do things that don't fit my DNA.
Right.
But it's his DNA to do all of those things. So it's a perfect match. And one important point about that relationship, because you asked about it earlier, we're equals. We are not, I am not here and he's down here, right? The integrator and CEO or visionary duo are equals. They complement each other.
Wow.
And he runs my firm when I'm not there. And he runs my firm when I'm there. He's the decision maker. He is running the day-to-day operations of my law firm, and I'm working in my sweet spot every single day. That's the dynamic that we want every law firm to be running with, whether you're a Fireproof client or not. That's the message. And if you do that, you free yourself up hours and hours and hours and hours a week to work on whatever the heck it is you want to work on.
I agree. I agree. But but some lawyers, it's hard for them to let go. Very hard for them to let go of some of those things.
Well, that's ego. That's control. That's a problem. And they may need to go see a therapist about that. Because I can't cure that. People say that stuff to me, but I like to do I like to do that. Nobody's better than me. I hear this all the time, Eric. Nobody's better than me than fill in the blank. Yeah. I've never given a talk where I looked in the audience and I said, are there things in your law firm that you think you're the best at and nobody could ever come close? Almost every hand shoots up. Okay? Wow. Including mine before I learned all this, including mine. I had a list of 4 or 5 things that nobody could do better than Mike Morse. I was wrong. And it's an ego thing. So unless they get to admit that, whether through therapy, coaching, whatever, you're not growing, you're not moving on. If you're going to insist on doing everything, I can't help you. God bless you. Good luck to you. If you're not willing to delegate, you know what I'm saying? So, right. I mean, it's as simple as that. I can't help everybody. And there's a lot of lawyers who talk to me and they'll come into the coaching program for a month and say, yeah, this is too much work. This is too hard. I don't want to get rid of this. Bye-bye. And I'm like, see you later. Right? One good thing about Fireproof, there's some coaching programs out there that charge $20,000, $30,000 a month, 2-year contracts. We don't do that. If you're not happy, get the heck out.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be helpful, not locking you in to onerous contracts that won't let you get out if you're not happy. Who wants that? So we try to be the good guys, right? We're just trying to help. If you're not getting helped, or you don't like it, or you don't want to do it anymore, quit. So
do you find yourself learning sometimes, like, from other lawyers, like some of these young lawyers,
all the time. That's all the time. And I'm a lifelong learner. I love learning. And so, yeah, that's an ulterior motive, is to learn and grow and make friendships. And some of my best friends right now are people I've met in other people's masterminds, my best friends. And I mean, friendships and connection and camaraderie. I mean, for me, that's my number one thing that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Learning, knowledge, reading, teach me something. I'm learning right now from some lawyers about AI and about, all the things that we've talked about.
Yeah.
I didn't make up. I learned from others, and I applied it. I had the discipline. I had the execution skills, and we executed and it worked. And now I want to teach others how to do that. And that's what I'm doing. And whether I'm paid for it or not, that's why I come on so many podcasts, just to spread the word, right? I tell people all the time, read my book, read these books as other books, listen to some podcasts. You don't need me. You can do this on your own. I am a guy who likes my hand held and take me through it. That's why I'm still with my coach. I was with Gino beginning of January for 2 straight days.
Yeah.
I coach. John coaches, but I still want that. I want that independent stranger in the room.
Got it.
To hold me and my team accountable. It's an important factor that people don't realize. People try to self-implement to save a buck. People try to do these things to save money. And I think it's more harmful than good. I think having that independent person in the room to hold you accountable, to say, hey, put down your phone. Hey, this is not a healthy conversation. Hey, we're starting on time, we're ending on time. Put your phones away. Whatever the messaging is.
Yeah.
It's helped us immensely by having that third party in the room. And so I highly recommend that for anybody listening
I agree.
to find that person.
Where do you there's so many things you hear now about, non-attorney ownership, law firms and all this other stuff. And where do you see like law firms in the law industry within the next 5 years, in your opinion, Mike?
Yeah. So that's a great question. You can't move 10 feet without hearing about somebody trying to buy a law firm or a merger. And I've had people try to buy me, and so far they can't afford me. Just kidding. So, I think you're going to see some constriction. I think you're going to see some mergers. I think you're going to see some people not happy with their firms and selling out to the highest bidder.
Whoa.
And I definitely think you're going to see that. I mean, I think Arizona's new laws have opened the door for creativity. And I just think it's happening. It's already happened. I know of some firms who've been merged or sold. And I think that's what I see. And if you're asking what people should do to get ready for that, is they should know their books. Their books should be clean. You should have jumbotrons. You should have a great leadership team. You should be doing everything right. If you want to be sold in 5 or 10 or 15 years or 2 years, get your shit in order.
Yeah.
Get your books in order. Get your team in order. If I was going to come buy a firm, you look around and you see how clean is it? How well run is it? I mean, that's obvious, right? But people should spend some energy and time on that if that's a goal of theirs.
I've seen firms that, they make a great revenue, but boy, they're kind of a shit show when you go and get on the inside of it and how they operate. It seems like the operational part was really important for you, you and John, to kind of figure out like who does what, how to delegate, what's the systems, what's the process, how do you run the firm,
1,000%. I mean, that's everything. We spend time every day on operations, and we have a very smooth operation. I mean, I could literally go away for 6 months and it would run fine, maybe even better without me. And they know what they're doing. They know what they have to do. I have a great leadership team who they all get it. They all want it. They all have the capacity to do what they're doing. They all have our core values, and it's just wonderful. And when all those things align, I mean, the sky's the limit. Yeah. Whatever you as the visionary want to do will get done, because you come up with an idea, you tell your team, and they do it. You don't have to do anything.
Wow.
And it's magical when it works, and you got to have that right team in place to make it work. And it's easier than ever, in my opinion. The tools are out there, the resources are out there. People are working from home. It doesn't even matter what city they're in half the time. You can go out there and find some talent, what you need to help you run your law firm, and pay them well, be generous, don't be cheap, and you are going to have a good life. I mean, we have one of the lowest turnovers in the country for a law firm at my firm, and we pay more than the average. I bring home 40% of the revenue, which most law firms are in the 20-25% range. So we have low turnover, high profitability. People are happy. I mean, if you follow the structure that's in the book Fireproof.
Yeah.
You don't need to hire me if you don't want to. I mean, read the books and follow the rules and follow what we say, and things are going to be good for you and get better if you're unhappy. I mean, you're listening to podcasts like this because you want to get better, because you want to grow, because you want to learn. Well, rather than just listening, execute, do something. Take one or two things out of these podcasts and do it. And you're going to see improvement. And then it gets addictive and you're going to do more of them.
I remember there was a part in your book where I can't remember if it was you hiring a secretary or a legal assistant or something. And you put in for higher, you looked at the average salary and you put it in for higher than that. And you got like 200 applicants coming at you that way. So it kind of reminds, when I hear you say, like, make sure you pay them, it really reminds me of that line that you had in that book. And for anybody who's not read Fireproof, lawyer or non-lawyer, it'll help you get your stuff in order, Question for you, Mike. What's something that you're most proud of? It's hard for me to tackle your entire career in a podcast. What's something that you're most proud of, man?
Besides my kids, I'm proud of the law firm that I've grown. I'm proud of how people feel, how we treat them. When I got fired from that first job, Eric, I said, if I'm ever lucky enough to have a single employee, because when I'm fired, I didn't even know if I was ever going to be able to employ anybody, right? Wow. I said, if I ever had one employee, I'm going to treat that person the opposite of the way they treated me. I'm going to be fully transparent. I'm going to let them know what's working, what's not working, what our goals are, what our numbers are. And I'm going to share and be an fairly open book with everything that's going on. And I got fired in 1995, started hiring employees in the 2000s. And ever since I've had an employee, I've held true to that word that every quarter I stand up in front of my firm. I'm doing this tomorrow, actually. And I give a state of the firm. And I spend an hour showing them all the numbers from the last year, what our goals are for 2025, what our financial goals are, what are our pet projects, what are all the things that we want to accomplish. We celebrate the anniversaries and we celebrate the milestones, and we have a fun hour, and it's me and them, and it's live in a big room, and it's just wonderful. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I'm still doing it. I don't need to do it, but I think it helps with everything that I've talked about, the longevity and the growth and the success. And I put my lawyers and my paralegals and my executive team and leadership and managers up against any firm in the country for what we do. And, the way we train, the way we onboard, the way we pay, the way we give generous PTO and benefits, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of all of that. So the firm, long answer, is what I'm the most proud of in the business world.
What's one word you would use to describe your firm?
Winners.
855 Mike wins.
Yeah.
There's, honestly, I think before I even reached out to even talk to you, Mike, I wanted to really kind of know a little bit about you. And the one thing that stuck out a lot in that book, and I almost felt it, was your father-in-law. Because I believe he was instrumental in introducing you to John Knockhazel, wasn't he?
He was instrumental in his relationship with another man who I knew, who did my testing for my employees, knew John. So yeah, right. Indirectly through Steve, I met John Knockhazel, who is my COO and integrator. So yeah, and Steve was my first mentor and the first person who ever treated me like an adult, treated me like a businessman, sat down with me and had many, 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 many lunches and would ask me questions about business that I had no idea about. I'll never forget. He'd say, "How many cases did you sign up last week?" "I don't know." "What's your average fee?" "I don't know." "Well, what are your goals for the year?" "What's a goal?" "I'm just trying to get the next case in the door, work it up, settle it, give me some money so I can pay my rent." Like, I was not worried about any of these things. And I felt really, I remember that this is a long time ago. I remember feeling really small when you would ask me those questions, and
Wow.
I get sweaty, and I would be like, I like my part of my brain was like, God, I know I should know that, and I know he's testing me, and I'm about to fail, and I respected him, and it was not a good feeling. And every time we had lunch, this would happen, but I still had lunches with him because I knew that that was important.
Wow.
And he was right. He was right. Now, he didn't have the framework like a business coach to give me, but he started introducing me to these concepts like data. He didn't even use the word data. He just said, you should know what's going on. You should know what's in your bank account. You should know what percentage of profit from your revenue there is. You should know what's working and what's not working. Most lawyers are looking for that case, looking for that fee, and looking for that next case. And that's how I was for 15 years. So I know that's how 90% of the firms operate.
Wow.
And it's a painful way to live. And some of them have success. They get 5 or 10 or 15 people and they think they're killing it and they're making a decent amount of money, but they're working 70, 80 hours a week and they're really not that happy.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if you do this method, you're going to make way more money and be way happier and work less, work as much as you want to work. Don't work. I mean, it's remarkable if you follow the advice, and it's not just, and it's not my advice, right? It's stuff I've accumulated through coaches and books and podcasts, but yet people are changing the way they run a practice and they're happier. They're more free. They're making more money. It's like a perfect world.
What's the biggest motivator for Mike Morse? It's not money.
Nope.
It's not money.
No, I surpassed that a while ago. So that's why it's a good question. The word that came in my head was freedom.
Wow.
And I could spend 20 minutes on freedom. I won't. But it's freedom to wake up in the morning and do whatever it is I want to do, go wherever I want to go, and work, go into the office, meet with clients or not, be on a podcast or not, go on a trip or not, be with my kids. It's at this point in my career, my life, to be able to wake up and do that is a gift. And I probably don't look at it every day, and I'm grateful for it every day, but it is unique and it's special. And I value my freedom, and I think that's my motivator.
Mike, I really I enjoyed talking to you today, and I hope some folks actually learned and got something from your story. There's so many, like I said, there's no way I could sum up the book and everything that I've heard you do. And even in the book where you start talking about spending money on production and stop doing the station production, which I try and tell law firms all the time, stop trying to go cheap, and I'll go to that one ad that, when we make ads for law firms. And when I saw your ad with the ambulance chaser, all I can say to the creative team was, wonderful job, masterful job there. And I love the ads with your mom in there. So I love the authenticity between you two, man. I love it. It's better than a Campbell's commercial with a lot of the NFL players and their moms. But Mike, I ask people this, when they depart. The name of our podcast is Going Forward. And I'd like to ask you, what does going forward mean to you, Mike?
Just keep living in abundance, keep living, day to day and doing what makes me happy and what lights me up, and spending time with my friends and family, and giving back to the community and giving back to the legal community that has given me such a great career.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's my man, Mr. Mike Morse, 855mikewins.com. Mike, give them those social handles just in case, and folks want to reach out to you. And also know Fireproof. I want them to know about Fireproof. I want them to look up Fireproof.
Yeah, look it up. I think it's fireproofperformance.com. I mean, we masterminds and coaching. I'm not the best salesman for it. It's just an act of love. 855 Mike Wins on, I think, on Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn. I think it's Mike Morse. Fireproof may have their own page, but I'm not really active on that one. But my page, I post twice a week, every Tuesday, every Thursday. I'm disciplined. I posted one today about hiring and firing, and which is such an important part of everything. So find me, email me. If you see me at NTL, I'm speaking next week, come say hi. If you want to get involved in masterminds or coaching or anything else, text me, DM me, email me. I'll respond to everything.
He does respond. Trust me, Mike does respond. And it's really Mike. I don't want you to think it's someone who's not him. He's paying attention to all that stuff. So, Mike, I thank you so much for being able to give us your most valuable asset. That's time, brother. That's all we got. To our going forward listeners, I hope you got some value from it. Mike is a tremendous, attorney, but also an even better person. And he's very courteous and generous with his time, and he loves being able to grow people. So visit fireproofperformance.com and connect with Mike and the Fireproof team. This has been the Going Forward podcast. Thank you guys so much. Mike, hold the line for me, buddy.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to rate our podcast and share it with a friend. Every share, every comment, every rating propels us forward. For more content, insights, and updates, visit ericelliott.com. Remember, your journey, your story is what keeps us going forward. Until next time.